All right, everyone, we are back for part two of our Team USA really informational and interview series. We have Charlie Sgrillo back on for the second half of this. The first half, we recapped what happened in 2025 and kind of teased a little bit what's going to happen in 2026. This interview is going to really go over in more detail what Team USA's plans are for 2026. So we're going to be talking about college partnerships, going to be talking about how to apply for Team USA, the events that are happening with Team USA, and then finally we're going to be announcing basically the majority of the coaches for the 2026 staff. So that being said, Chal, anything from last interview that you maybe want to elaborate on, or do you feel we kind of touched everything there?
No, I think we hit on everything that we did and the direction of the program. So I think everybody knows. And I actually on purpose wore my USAR shirt today
There you
because
go.
this is the logo that nobody seems to recognize, only for the fact that it is the national governing body for Team USA through the U.S. Olympic Committee. So I want to wear my USAR
I
shirt so
like
we
that.
people can start understanding who USARS is.
And it's a very good point because I think there was always that like bridge that was never built like between what USARS is, what Team USA is, and why they're linked together. And like you said, since USARS is the national governing body, that's the bridge, right?
That's the bridge to Team USA through the Olympic Committee and the NDP that my son Charlie, Laura, Greg with Timmy and State Wars created the NDP, and that's your path to Team USA. So we're getting the pyramid in place, and we're in really good shape. And it's been a couple years, a few more things to do, but things are moving along very well.
Like you said in the last one, there's walk, run, we're at a trot right now, right? So
That's it.
the trot's the way to go. And it's for good reason because you have to develop it the right way. You can't just run to the finish line. So it's a marathon, it's not a race, I think a lot of people are familiar with. So something you just brought up, and you mentioned a few people there right off the bat, um, with Timmy and Greg, Laura, Charlie Jr. Like, where can players be noticed for Team USA? What events are you guys really going to be honing in on in 2026 so people can get in front of the scouts?
Well, the two things with 2026 is this. The selection dates is a big key if you want to get seen for this year's Team USA that will be in Paraguay in October. Um, the applications for the senior men will close, I believe, April 25th,
Right.
after Winter Wars Midwest. So that's when the juniors and the women will close the May 15th after the women's draft tournament in California.
Gotcha.
So that's your big dates for this year. We just had a whole bunch of scouts and people at Norch's Winter Nationals, and there'll be a few other events happening out there before. I know Winter Wars West will be out there in February where people will be getting another look. So all the events with State Wars will be at Norch up until those deadlines for this year's applications. And then we immediately go into the mode of now we're looking for 2028 because all the summer national championships this year
Right.
are will be geared to us looking at 2010s and 11s and some 12s because we're looking at 2028 because 2026 would have been selected already.
Right.
So it'll be a very interesting summer, getting ready for the Worlds, picking for the Worlds, and then getting ready for 2028. So it should be very interesting and a great summer of hockey.
And to your point, I think what's even more important that you attend these events, right? If you're interested in this, is because it is going to be a long path to 2028, right? You have that whole basically 2 years almost, right? Like, so it is
Exactly.
a long path. So the only way to really get in front of these scouts and get your name in the hat, and at least even if it's not to play, if it's just information gathering, right? Is to attend these events because you're going to have the scouts at these events. It's not like we have a league where you, me, whoever can go out and watch these kids play in a league. The tournaments are our league, right?
Exactly. The tournament series is our league. That's where the scouts see people We are building our scouting staff through the NDP. Charlie, Greg, and Laura are already working on it. We do have a bunch of scouts already on there. And we kind of got away from the resume type application to more of we want to see you, and we want to know what scouts we can call that you play for, play against. So we
Good
have
point.
these scouts on there. So when you check a scouts box, if we have any questions, we call our scouts. And this is the kind of scouting system the NDP wants to develop. So we don't miss anybody from anywhere in the country, not just the hotbeds of inline, but there's the other kids, the ice kids that can do roller. I mean, look at the last three NHL first round picks, all roller players.
Yeah. So you bring up,
So the
yeah.
game is guilt. You have to stay in touch with everyone. So that's what the scouting system is great for.
You brought up something really interesting, and I never really thought about this until you said it. It's not just people you're looking at, it's the people you're playing against. And I think that's huge as well because it might throw someone on your radar that wasn't because they're a nice kid typically throughout the winter events and they get to go to a summer national and you're like, wow, this kid's really talented, depending when the event is, maybe he could be a part of Team USA. So I think that's a really good point that whether you're interested in Team USA or not, like you're at these tournaments, you want to put your best foot forward. And Tim has mentioned this in the past, like as far as being a teammate goes, being a good player, and all of the above, showing competitiveness. Someone might pop up on the scale on the scale that you never had eyes on originally. So I really like that you said that. So just to kind of recap it. Narch Winter Nationals just happened last week. I was out there, tons of talent in those younger divisions. That was the first time I got to see a lot, like at the Winter Nationals, it's a smaller event, so you get to see more of the kid stuff during the day, and it's not just so heavily focused on the pro and things like that. You got Winter Wars with three events. You have West, East, and Midwest, and that East event is two separate weekends as well. You have the adult weekend that sometimes has juniors in there, and then you have your youth weekend. And then the biggest one, in my opinion, that's going to be a huge differentiator is that women's draft tournament in May. I was talking to Laura when I was out there. I mean, expecting over 200 players, expecting that event to grow. Now it's in its what, third year or second? I think it's its third year, right?
Third, maybe the fourth. They started a small one and then it's just constantly grown. Her and Laura and Allie do a great job with it. It's them doing with for the women because of the ice hockey and not as many women. You might have women, but the girls have to play with the boys of a certain age group. So they want to identify those young players earlier, get them into the program. Right now, it's basically geared out of California, but we are trying to franchise that, maybe trying to come up maybe within women's draft in the East if we can in the next few years so that we have a chance to see everybody.
Yeah,
So Laura's doing a great job putting that together. Her and Allie, both former Team USA players, both captains, both world champions, both I got the coach. So it's building the brand and creating the path to Team USA and having former Team USA players involved in that is big also.
perfect. I mean that's perfectly said. Not much more to throw behind it, but obviously, if you're interested in it, in the women's draft tournament, women's roller hockey page is a good place to start, and kind of find out more information and get yourself involved. And just a side note, even looking at the women's pro division last weekend, smaller division, only four teams, but a lot of the younger girls were starting to filter into that pro division, and there was a lot of close games, in that round robin. So. That's awesome to hear. So the next topic I'm going to move to is the college partnership. So, what college events are leading towards this pipeline and finding these college players that have competed in events, like the Pan America Games?
Well, what we're doing with the colleges, and we're just in the middle of completing a partnership with the league. We did send a couple college teams to the Brazil Invitational in November. They did great down there. It's a way to let kids know two things. It's kind of works two ways. Helps the college league because high school juniors and seniors know they have an option if ice hockey isn't the way they're going. They want to play college roller hockey.
And some could do both. Some could do both
Yeah,
ice
and
and
some could
roller.
do
I've
both.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the other thing for us is connecting with the colleges. We're looking for internships. We might be able to create process where writers, photographers, trainers, anything sports management, they might be able to go to their school, get an internship to come to the Worlds or come to State Wars for 2 weeks in the summer and work the event. Instead of going to class for 3 months, they go to wherever
Yeah.
State Wars is for 3 weeks. So we're giving the colleges are taking the ball with that, running with it as far as letting the students know what they can do. And if anybody approaches us with collars with scholarships for, or I mean, sponsorship to go do that, then we'll let them do an internship with us if their school allows it.
Yeah, kind of like we have a school near us, Drexel University. They do a co-op program, right? So very similar to how they operate their co-op program. We're giving you real life experience, that can lead towards credits and for your college degree. And the other thing is we talked about in the last episode, some of those people might be well, they are going to be hockey players. So if you're on that team and you have an interest in social media or an interest in journalism, whatever it may be, this just gives you another thing to do while you're out there to not only get credits for, but be able to play as well, right? So
Exactly. And
you and
it
I know
opens the
this.
door.
Yeah, like I know it very well from doing it with USARS, being able to play and do some of the social media stuff, but you're really killing two birds with one stone. And the experience that you're going to get from that is unlike anything else. We've talked about it on just about any interview we've done regarding Team USA in the past that the international experience is unlike any other. So I think that's good. And obviously, it sounds like there's still a lot of things that not a lot of things, but there's things being worked out with the college league. But that's something to keep in mind. Again, we're looking at 2026 as a whole. That's something to keep in mind. So if you're playing college or you're going to college, this is something that could be an opportunity for you.
And well, exactly. And working with, you got Rob Coughlin and Brennan, who are the two main guys I've been working with. And basically, we're probably going to send a college All-American team back to Brazil, and it may the end of April. The Brazilian Summer Invitational, I should have the information tonight. It'll be out to the colleges within a day or so, and then we'll formulate a plan for putting a college team or two to send back to Brazil at the end of April. So the dates, all the details should be out sometime tonight. So by in the next few days, that should be in the college's hands for their hockey players to see how they want to select an All-American team.
Perfect. And you led right into really what our next topic is going to be is what events are going to be in 2026. What events should people be keeping an eye out for?
Well, the first one we have on our radar screen right now is the Masters, Veterans and Legends. That will be in Germany in June. The applications will shut down February 2nd. The the teams will be selected by the inline hockey committee sometime that week, very shortly, like maybe the 5th or the 6th of February. Then we notify all the players once they accept it. Then we'll be announcing the team probably mid-March so they can get ready with fundraising and everything they want to do to get ready to go to Germany in June. So um, I know a little later we're going to announce maybe the coaches for all those things, but the men's are ready to go with the men's masters, veterans and legends. Also, been talking with those guys, and they're good. They're ready to go. They're finishing up their process, and we're what we're doing, and which is good about this, is it seems like we're uniting the sport again. There's a common thread, and that's Team USA. There's a lot of different entities, but the NDP is the path to Team USA, and that's what we're creating, and it seems to be going well with everyone.
And to touch on this real quick, because I don't want to get too far from the events, but before very resume built based, where like, you had resumes coming in left and right. Well, now we know that this is the way to do it is to show up to events. Here are the events that you should be looking forward to. Here are deadlines. So it's just more organized in general. So
Exactly. And we figured that would be the best way to get those players that we were talking about earlier that might be an ice player, but only does so many roller things during the ice season. Hey, he might go, that's the only tournament I can be at where they'll see me. I'm gonna go out of my way to
make
make
sure you
it.
make it right. That
So that's kind of the whole idea. But Yeah, announcing where we're going to be is a clear indication on how to get seen and involved in the program.
Gotcha. Another event in June, I believe, is the Pan American Games.
Pan America Games are supposed to be in June in Peru. Um, they're run by World Skate America, which I am actually on their committee. But they're still working out details with the local organizing committee and federation. So nothing has been announced. So for the US, that's kind of hard because we tell them all the time we need 6 months and
Right.
we're well under 6 months. So, what happens this year with Pan America is still up in the air. As soon as we know, we'll decide if we have enough time to do something with it. But that is kind of something that's out of our hands. We love to use it as a developing
Yeah,
tournament,
building
but
block. Yeah.
yeah, but if they're not ready, we kind of don't want to, especially this year being a world championship year and the NDP and everything growing. We got enough to do right here to build the program the way we want it for the USA.
Yeah, you can't fit a circle in a square, right? If you don't have enough time to do it, then it becomes more of an issue, and it makes it a bad
And you're
experience.
running
But
mistakes. You make
yeah.
mistakes.
Another event we should touch on is the NDP at State Wars. So do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, the NDP at State Wars is really awesome. It's really growing. We have what we do is we bring in coaches and you'll see most of the coaches there are Team USA coaches or people aspiring to get into the program. And this again, just like the players, we get to check out coaches. I don't let, well, the rule is, and not me, but the coaches coach other sections of the country. So if you're from California, you'll probably coach in the East Coast. If you're in the Central, you're coaching the other way. So we try to move the coaches around so they don't coach the kids they know. They coach against those kids, but they
I
get to
like
see
that.
new kids. And we have most of our coaches that coach our teams will be coaching at State Wars. Um, I know there's a big drop. I think of another. I don't know, the third episode of their big series that's going on that we were a part of.
Yeah,
With being at the Palmer Pro. So, with State Wars and the growth that the NDP is having in that has just been unbelievable. So it's even going to be bigger and better this year than last year. So those kids all get seen at their State Wars tryouts because as they do the State War tryouts, they are the NDP looks also. Um, Players are selected for making all world last year from State Wars. And then we can add players to those rosters if a player we see in the tournament this year, maybe it didn't make State
right,
Wars last year,
right,
but
right.
this year we see him at a tournament and we're like, whoa, who's this kid? And he's the age we're looking for, and he fits into the program and wants to be part of it. We offer them an NDP
Yeah,
spot. So
it bolsters the
it's the
roster.
best of the best.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be. So we're using basically the train tracks that State Wars has laid down. We're running right with them because it's all over the country.
perfect. And you had talked about in the last interview, some more countries even being involved in that, just for the our players' experience to get a different experience, play some new teams, play some new faces in a different way too. Even when you're playing, in the different regions, it's pretty cool. And I love the idea of having different coaches coach other regions because it's almost like in your professional careers, you always learn from people, right? You've probably learned from people who came before you and had your position within the fire company, and I learn from people in sales all the time. So it's good because you're getting to learn from new coaches, which is cool from a player's perspective. And then on the vice versa, the coaches get to learn from these players, right? So it's a two-way street, which is nice. It kind of keeps that communication very open.
And it also, like I said, it allows us to give everybody a fair shot over a couple years to be seen, be coached by our coaches. We get to evaluate our coaches and new coaches because can't have the same people coaching forever. So there's a next generation thing being built as we build the NDP. So it's in for the long haul.
Yep.
So like I said, crawl, walk, run.
Yep.
And I listen to the youngins below me and they let me know what I should do.
Perfect. And then the last event for 2026 that you had mentioned is the World Championship. So do you just want to give us some general kind of information on the World Championships?
Well, right, yeah, right now, like we have the dates for Paraguay. They're already been announced by World Skate. Um, the great thing about this summer, which is going to be, is the teams are going to be selected for Paraguay. So we may have a chance at State Wars if everybody's there to be able to practice as a team if we can work it out. Um, but State Wars this year is going to be so fun because the players that have been selected will be playing, but what we're really going to concentrate our looking is we're going to be looking at the 2010s, the 2011s, the 2012s for 2028. So well, as we talked about in the beginning, it becomes a long-term thing being involved. So if you're the more you're in the event, the more we're seeing you, the better chance you're going to have, the more recognition you're going to be seen year after year as you grow as a player. And again, like Timmy said, and as we said in all our things, as a person, we want solid citizens. We want good kids with with their heads on right and understand and representing their country. And they're in it for the love of the game. And, we got great role models. I mean, we got Travis Snow, who's who's on a ready to jump in on our NDP staff, working with him to get him involved. Still winding down. He's still got it to play. So, a lot of those great players, you got to let them finish their careers, but be ready to pull them in because, he's a great guy we want to have involved. I've had a conversation with Travis. He's ready to go with anything he can do for the kids. So it's really going to be interesting as this develops, how this plays out. I'm interested to see how it works.
And they're role models to these kids. And I think with having like what we had just done with the Beyond the Boards documentary, showing showing these kids and parents like, hey, these are good people that are involved in this program. They're role models, for these kids at the end of the day. So, and one of the other things, and this leads into kind of this was kind of a question, to be honest, I threw in there because it always after all the years I've played and what I hear other people saying is the biggest challenge is the application process. And it's not because it's hard to do, it's just getting to do it. And you want people who are serious about it. So, um, with that being said, like, where do people go to apply for these tournaments, these events? And can you just touch on why there has to be an application process? Why it can't just be, oh, we like this guy, we like this guy, we're going to take him, her, whoever it is.
Well, what everyone has to realize is exactly what this shirt says, USARS. So we fall under the guidelines and have to follow the guidelines of USARS, which follows the guidelines of the U.S. Olympic Committee. So applications have to be up for a certain amount of time. All the different things we do once you're selected, all the different forms is all geared towards USARS and what the Olympic Committee wants. So we do have a process we have to follow. Sometimes people don't understand it. That's why we try to get a look at people earlier and get them selected early enough because it is, a bunch of paperwork that has to be done, things of that nature. So it is part of the process. That's why we're called Team USA because we follow the same guidelines, just like any other sports that's going to the Olympics.
100%.
We're just a non-Olympic sport at this time, but we're going to a world championship to represent the USA. And the U.S. Olympic Committee and USARS is big on, us following all their rules. So that's my main job is to make sure our program
Yeah,
is
it's
correctly.
he said it last he said it last time too. Like you have to get all the troops in order in line, right? So to say. And I wanted you to say what exactly how you answered that question. What people don't understand is you may think of it as like, oh, it's just roller hockey, Team USA, but really it's not. It's something a lot bigger and hopefully gets even bigger and gets its way into the Olympics. And that was one of the things in a lot of the interviews we did, asking people why should it be in the Olympics? And everyone had this ever glowing passion for the sport. And I think to your point, what you kind of just did with your answers, bridge that gap. Like, hey, there is a process that needs to be followed. And if you're serious about it, you need to follow that process out because otherwise we can't say, hey, you're the best player in the country at your age group, but you never applied. But you can't get on the team because all these people who did apply did follow the process, and that's part of it.
And that is exactly right. That's governed by the U.S. Olympic Committee. So when we say for the Masters, say that they're closing February 2nd. For the senior men, it's April 25th. For the juniors and the senior women, it's May 15th. Once that date hits, if you didn't apply, there's really almost hard impossible to get on the team. There are some rules or some things at the Olympic level that if something was to happen to a player
Bearing
injury
injury,
wise, they give us some leeway,
just like
but
we're
that's
seeing
why
with
we pick
yeah,
alternates. That's why we
yeah.
select alternates so that they're ready in case that happens and to fill right in.
And I've gotten on the teams because of those situations, right? There's been plenty of players it happens, right? It can be a scheduling conflict, right? Because a lot of people, this isn't their full-time job. So it could be an injury that happens, right? So there are things that as long as you get your name into that pool, into that hat, that there's always a chance, right? So part of it's
Exactly.
going to be on the hockey side of things, obviously taking care of your body, training, getting to these tournaments. But on the other side of things, you have to have a bit of a professionalism, I'll call it, along with it, right? And some merit there to make sure that you're following the steps. So your name is on that list. And once you're on that list, again, like you said earlier, it might be for a couple years, right? Because of the age and things like that. You're on the list that and you follow this guidelines moving forward. So
Exactly. And that part of it is like the application process, very easy. Laura and Greg and them do a great job with the applications going out there, social media, making all the announcements. They'll be announcing a bunch of stuff again in another week or so. But yes, following that application process, we don't kill you. There's all kinds of things that go into that, so it's a small fee to register, and now your name's in the hat, and then at least you can be selected. If you don't get in the path of Team USA, you
you
can't
never
get on
know.
Team USA.
You never know.
You
Exactly.
never know.
And that was kind of where I would wanted to get with that question. As I said, I kind of generated that question on my own because I remember when it was resume based, that was even more of a thing. Like if we don't have your resume, then you're really screwed. But now you do have these events and stuff like that. Hockey is the one part that you can control, and then doing the applications the other part that you can control, right? And for a lot of the kids, it's going to be on the parents doing that. So that's why I kind of wanted to talk about that as well because throughout us talking, we've focused very heavily on the events and things like that. But I think the application should get just as much light shined on it because it is the next biggest part, right? Aside from the playing aspect of it.
Well, that's how you get on the path. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
and we
exactly.
want people to understand it. And like I said, everything is very easily explained on the website. And Laura and them guys do a great job notifying the youngins on social media because they're
Yeah,
on it all the time. So when they see those things pop up, that'll click. Hey, man, I better apply, or I better which one of these tournaments am I going to this year? Like I want
yeah,
to be seen.
exactly.
So.
Perfect.
It's a good process, and but again, we have to follow the guidelines of the U.S. Olympic Committee.
There you go. Perfect. I'm glad you said it that way, and you've been very good with going where I want you to go with a lot of these answers. But it's because you've been around for so long and you've been dealing with it for so long that what it becomes is just the truth. It's just the truth of what's behind it. So, and then finally, so kind of the moon. I don't want to say the moon we've all been waiting for because this is all really good information, but we did want to announce the coaches that we have thus far for Team USA in 2026. So why don't we start off with something that's been newer, and we talked on this on the last interview, the Masters teams.
All right, so for the Masters, we are our final selections for the Master Women's. I will return to the bench,
You
coach
said
the
that last
Women's
time, but yeah,
Masters.
yeah,
I talked to the girls and they approved it,
they gave
so
you the okay. That's
I
good.
got the okay.
Perfect.
Um, then I also just got the selection process for the Masters men's is going to be Dan Costanza,
Okay,
former Team
perfect.
USA
Been
player,
around. Yep.
coached in Pan America for us. The veterans is going to be by Andy Cripps. Andy's a former Team USA
Oh,
player, so he'll
okay.
be coaching the veterans, and Derek Kern will be coaching the legends.
Love him.
So we have a very good masters coaching staff in place and ready to go. That's our first set. Um, we'll get out, and then we'll get out from the senior men. The senior men, we're going to have Tim McManus and Greg Thompson back at the helm. Um, They couldn't make the World Games where we had Vio step in and do a great job and win a world championship there. So Timmy and Greg will be back behind the bench for the senior men. The senior women still up in the air. We have our final meeting tomorrow night to make our final selection. We had so many good candidates. And it's also about picking a direction for the women because we're at that age where the women's changeovers and it happening in the
Starting to
next,
age out. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to start changing. So we're going to finalize that tomorrow night. So we'll
And
be announcing
that's
that.
good. That leaves everyone a little something to look forward to, not having all the answers yet. So
Exactly. Then for the junior women, which is great, we got Charlotte Nicholson, who has been an assistant coach there, former Team USA player, Team USA captain. So she'll be head coaching the junior women along with Amanda Hardwick. For those that don't, Amanda's our captain for Team USA at the Pan Americas last year where they won the world, won the championship down there. So Amanda's from North Carolina area. So we got two East Coast girls with the junior women. And then the junior men is Dan Maxwell. Dan Maxwell has been on the bench a few times for the junior men and the senior men last year. Dan's going to have the shot at being the head coach, and he will be coaching with Nick Bodarski from Connex.
nice.
Them two
Yeah,
guys will be doing the juniors. Um, so that's our staff. To be determined is the senior women will, and we're handling that tomorrow night on our conference call because we've really wanted